KK Odeluga.
Mazi Ejikeme Obasi.
Na Mazi Oke Okachuku.
This is Straight Talk Radio, the world as we see.
Coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
Listen to us this and every Saturday at 4 to 5 p.m. U.S. Central, and this and every Tuesday at 9 to 10 p.m. U.S. Central.
Ndewo.
Ndewo and Dalu again and welcome to Straight Talk Radio, coming to you at WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. You're still listening to Mazi Oke Okachuku na
Mazi Ejike Obasi.
Mazi KK Odeluga.
None Dalu, and welcome to the program. This is Africa Saturday, where we discuss all things Africa. And if you have been listening to us on the part 1 of this episode, where we discussed, we talked about Africa news and got all the way to Nigeria and what ails Nigeria with the Benue massacres by the Fulani herdsmen. We are back again to continue the conversation, but I want to alert you that you are listening to us on a public service radio station. This radio station is on the north side of Chicago and is Africa-owned for the diaspora. It's the African diaspora owned, and it's talking about everything Africans, but also talking about how we live in the diaspora, and also explaining our cultures and our differences and some of our ways to those who are new to us. So we are expecting that you listening to it, being an African or a friend of Africa or somebody who just loves the station, that you will be able to go to our page, wghcfm.org, and make a donation, because we live on your donations. That's how we survive and pay the bills and the rent. So please give generously. We appreciate any amount, and we thank you as you give, but also know that your gifts are tax deductible. Thank you, and as we continue, I would like to start us off with some news, but I'll go straight to Nigeria, since usually we get lost in the news and then the conversation gets shorter. It's not much of a news, but I wanted to point out a story that I read on one of the Nigerian newspapers about a Senator Foster Ogola of Bayelsa West District. And the thing is, they are saying that his PhD is fraudulent. The guy has a PhD, at least he claims he has a PhD, and his PhD was issued by a university that no longer exists. But the university existed before, as far as, as he knows. And the people that did the research, including BBC, are saying that the university doesn't have his PhD project published on the web. Now, I'm not going to fight whether this guy has PhD or not. If we have gone to the point to determine that there was a university and that the university gave out PhDs, why are we worried about his thing being on the web? Is that if I have it on the web, does that mean that anybody who has a web project has a PhD? But also, I don't want to defend the man, because I'm not sure if he has a PhD or not. My attraction to this story is that Rome is burning, and it seems like some people are chasing rats. Right. Why are we talking about PhD or no PhD? We know a lot of people who don't have any qualifications whatsoever, or people who have fraudulent paper who are in the government in Nigeria. The right question to ask, I actually just reminded me of a story in the Bible. Sorry, I do Bible stories on Saturdays, about Jesus and hanging out with his people, and they told him this story about one woman with 4 brothers, one marrying her one after the other and dying. And then after the whole story, they asked him and said, "Hey, Lord," this is one of my favorite stories, by the way. I use it all the time. They said, "Lord, so at the resurrection from the dead, which one will be the husband to this guy?" Because they were trying to find out if he believed in. And he's like, "From the story you told me, you guys don't know what you read. You're actually focusing on the wrong thing." That's how I got his response. Sure. And my paraphrasing in that is, this woman is marrying these people and they are dying. Instead of thinking, what is she cooking with? How are these people dying? You're busy worried about what happens afterlife. Live where you are first. That's what that's my attraction to this story. Sorry for the long thing, but what do you think?
Well, my issue with the man and his certificate, first and foremost, in civilized society, it should matter.
Yes.
You cannot, at that level, be making false claims. So, in that sense, it is wrong.
But didn't they vet him before he got the
Well,
position? They should have done all that homework.
So that is part of the issue. But we also know that plagiarism has brought people down in this country.
Yes.
But Nigeria is not America by any standards. But go ahead, Mazi.
Yes, not to interrupt you, but the issue is not whether he had the right vetting.
Yes.
The standard for most offices in Nigeria is your GCE
school certificate
or West African school certificate. Now, what we're talking about here is PhD.
Yes.
Now, the only people who should have vetted him should have been the electorate, his family that knew him, or people around him. And more importantly,
he didn't go to school by himself. He had classmates.
The fourth estate,
Yes.
the press.
Yes.
You see, part of the challenge within the Nigerian space is the fact that the press is for sale.
To the highest bidder.
And there is no rigorous journalistic endeavor to try to make sure that the people are informed, educated, and leaders are held accountable. Yes. Again, partly because of the heritage of the 40-some years of military rule, where decrees upon decrees have been used to destroy media houses.
Yep.
I give it to the press. The press has suffered brutally and have been persecuted in Nigeria. So there's some maybe the story of Onye Buba. So oftentimes we gloss over these things. But I agree with Mazi Obasi. It's a matter of a test of character and integrity. If you do not have any qualification, say it. You don't need a PhD to be a good public servant.
Why make up things?
Why make it up?
Because in Nigeria,
and
you cannot be Mazi Odeluga. You have to be Sir, Doctor,
Chief,
Prophet,
Chief. Oh, no. Chief is now passé. You have to be ultimate
high chief.
Yes.
That's the point. There's this craze about prefixes and suffixes that mean absolutely nothing. Yeah. But that's the world you live in.
Yeah. So again, going back to so that is part of democracy.
Yes.
If anybody shows up, get his resume, let somebody take time to verify the authenticity of their resume.
And while you're checking that, check his character.
That is, you see, because you're entrusting him with the power that belongs to you.
You're saying, represent me.
You're asking him to stand in your state. And so if he's going to stand in your state, and that is part of the democratic process, you must know that this is a man of his own word, and that he is who he said he is. Because if he comes to you as an impostor, and he's not honest, he doesn't have the integrity, whatever comes out of his leadership, you have to be responsible for it.
And the content of his character is much more weightier than the weight of his qualification, of his degree.
That's right.
So, well, that's the only news I'm going to do because the last time we left on a very hot topic, we were talking about what's going on in Nigeria and the intercommunal interactions, if you will, reactions to what happened. And it seems to be always, this throw to Ndibo. And for me, what I think it is people are looking at this and going, oh, I know somebody who has been through this before. Why am I not hearing them say anything? They have the experience. Why are they not speaking up? And it's usually Ndibo. Well, you got killed a long time ago. How did you navigate these things?
Yes.
Tell me.
Yes. You see, for Benue, there is a lot of, they are northern neighbor.
Yes.
And there are also Igbo communities that live within the Benue and the Middle Belt.
Yes.
Igbo communities everywhere.
Historically,
yes,
when the jihad came through and they were able to fight off the jihadists,
they borrowed Ndibo.
they lost quite a bit of their men.
Yes.
In some of the ethnic groups within the Middle Belt, in Benue especially. And they had to come down to Udi area, Ezago, and to get reinforced.
Yes.
So this is something that they believe
We've been neighbors.
So they have more blood.
That's right. So there are quite a good number of...
So they have a good reason to say,
that's
why
right.
am I not hearing from you?
So, but my point is, I know people will point out what happened in the 66 and then 67 to 1970.
As they should.
But even one night, no,
they shouldn't.
And sometimes, on when Nundi went out to that, you see, when Okoko Balonofia, Namule no. Don't go into this forest because he has the fox.
Yes.
You know? Yeah, so
fox will not call
cat,
wildcat.
Wild cat.
Yeah.
So the issue being, we need to deal with the problem that we have.
Yes.
Which is, if it crosses Benue, then it's going to hit Anambra, hit Enugu, hit Ebonyi, hit all the core Alibo.
Yes.
Okay? And onye na-atụ okwute n'ọsha, n'afịa.
Yes.
You have to be careful because your mother might be in the market.
Well,
so a lot of the people who may have died in that church
probably Igbos.
Maybe Igbo parishioners.
Yes.
Secondly, I think Benue is the largest Catholic enclave in the north, in the so-called north. I call it so-called north because it was a conjecture, a political strategy of Sadwana.
And that,
I mean, there is nothing about them.
Like what we said before, and it worked, and it's been working.
And it,
until now.
Now it's beginning to unravel.
Yes.
As it should.
So, part of it was that he was a brilliant tactician, and he realized that as the jihad has not fully penetrated the Middle Belt, that he can use the idea of a great protector and a benefactor,
and show you another enemy,
and a benefactor, that the people will rally to him. And indeed, he brought home the bacon, because remember, they were in the good books of the colonial government.
Yes.
Much as the Middle Belt was not developed as quickly and as vigorously as other parts of Nigeria, but at least they got something in terms of the civil service jobs in northern Nigeria.
Yes.
So if you go to the north, majority of the Sabongeris are populated by Middle Belters who are not Muslims and the Indibo. Do you understand?
So the that's how Gowon got there.
That's
right?
So the patronage for Gowon to get there, for David Mark to get there,
for T.Y. Danjuma
to get, and including our good friend IBB, for him to get there, he has to play as a servant of the North.
Yes.
So if you wanted power, if you wanted to get up promotion within the military or the social, the political ladder or the leadership civil service in northern Nigeria, you have to be shown to be an admirer of the North and somebody who believes in the Northern agenda.
Yes.
So now we've had I think a series of events that are beginning to show us that the Middle Belt is rethinking that strategy. When Unongo decided that he's not longer going to be the president of Arewa,
of ACF,
ACF, that was the first blow. Now he's realized, Otetagonola.
Yes.
Then Danjuma stood up and spoke so clearly, because again, part of their bona fide or their resume is that you have to show me an Igbo man you killed.
Yes,
everybody
always
pulls
out that card.
Then I will know.
Yes.
I will know how
committed you are. That's right.
So part of your
show me your loyalty card.
So part of the rite of passage is to be anti-Igbo.
Yes.
But I got up if
yes.
Because we are in a new era, we are in a new generation. There is the differences that between then and now. I believe, first of all, that our leadership at the Ohanese level should pay the Benue, our brothers in Benue, a condolence visit.
Yes.
And then, of course, through the channels of our Catholic brothers, because these are our own Christian brothers. The church in Anibo should pay a visit. Solufa Beakwa.
Okay.
Because Abato Bionya, Bwanne.
Okay. Adiko Roland Baga Suwe Boniha. For the natural okay, Kuana Beke. Onyo Lena Boko.
Okay, that's how we started.
Ilanya na social media.
Yes.
Emere mgbe emere emume as a handshake across the Niger.
Oh yes.
N'ebe ahụ ụmụazị ndị the Biafra movement.
The indigenous people
in the IPOB
of Biafra.
Okay. Na ndị ọhaneze nwere nsogbu. Shite ebe ahụ rukwe taa nsogbu ahụ na-abawanye ụba. Ọmụnwa anọghị ịbịa sị otu esi gbanụnụ nne ejife, because that's irrelevant.
The indigenous money.
However, ọ dị mkpa unu nwa ọha na eze ga-anụ kpọta ọha, ga-anụ kpọbata ọha. And I want to say something, because ihe na-eme echefuo in May, was it May of last year, May of 2017, there was a meeting held here in Chicago.
Yes.
Akpọkọrọ Igbo niile nọ in America.
Yes.
Igbo niile ezuo na Chicago. Gbaa izu with Nna Enwodo,
Ohaneze,
head of Ohaneze. Gbachi izu wee sị lee ka anyị chọrọ ka esi wee mee ihe ka achịkọta Igbo niile ọnụ. At that meeting, IPOB was there, as were many other Igbo organizations. Achọrọ m ịjụ, agbachara izu ka anyị ọnụ, gịnị mere izu agwụ? Thank you. Agwụ ahụ egburu ọ dị mkpirisi ole? Because o ruole mgbe e ga-ebido jụwa ajụjụ. Ọ dị mkpa mgbe ọgụ ka nọ na nke ndị agbata obi anyị ka anyị chịkọta onwe anyị ọnụ, chekwaa onwe anyị. And that's all I have to say about that. So unu chọzikwa itonye ọnụ.
No, you see, the thing, what we have to learn is really to begin to think long term. And I think for Ndibo, we've been caught up in this moment to moment. Yes.
There you go.
So, but more importantly, now why Sinana Bankata eto esikwadie sisi nana akpakwa nka siti ikwa onu no onye ga-ekuchie.
Yes.
You know, so we need to begin to broaden this conversation beyond just survivor. What kind of future do we see for Anibo? Because that will require us to build some strategic alliances. And what are those alliances that we need to build now and cultivate? And so, even ijelu mmadụ mgbalu ma ibeku mmadụ is one of those ways. You see, and some of these ways are people build strategic alliances. Because no, of course, and
but okay, let me just say something, because you see, my worry is that a delegation goes to Benue, and we have this fellowship.
Yes.
We express our condolences.
Yes.
We tell them that we support them in their attempt to protect life and property.
Yes.
And then to your
after that, what?
So
after that, what?
Because no. That should be the beginning, because now why I say that is
I na-ekwe tu ndị ọhaneze.
Yes.
Na ndị IPOB esibe wee kwe.
Yes.
So mbaya asị ka ejewe nyanwu delegation.
Ka onye ga-aga.
Onye nọ na delegation. Because what will happen is some well-meaning people, thoughtful as it may be, will come together and decide this is good to do, and they will go do it. And before they leave, somebody is asking who sent you come.
And actually posting something that is incendiary.
No.
Yes.
So,
and disavowing and denying them before they touch down.
No, there are at various levels.
Yes.
First of all, we have people who know the TV,
Yes.
at every level.
Yes.
I've talked about, be it trade organizations,
Yes.
be it the church,
Yes.
be it social cultural organizations.
So you're basically doing universal. Onye nwere ike ijeje.
You see, again, you need to create contact and strategic alliances at various levels.
Onye ọbụla jere.
Because ndị Benue afọ,
IPOB je nke ha.
ndị Benue
Ọhaneze
afọ,
je nke ha.
ndị Benue.
Ndị Lower Niger je nke ha.
That's
Ndị
right.
ADF je nke ha.
So long as we are all going with one objective, which is
O nwere akụkọ iro na-adị repeat ụdị ha.
no, because
Let me point out to Mazi Odeluga
Yes.
the pitfall
Yes.
of where you're going with this.
yes,
When Operation Python Dance happened,
Yes.
every single person kpọrọ onwe ya onye Igbo,
Oh.
we were outraged.
Oh.
And Ohaneze, ndị Igbo,
Yes.
came to US and addressed the issue. Soon after that, ADF came, addressed the issue.
Okay.
ABC came, addressed the issue. XYZ addressed the issue. All of a sudden, 600 people, all of them
saying different things.
representing
And
ndị Igbo.
saying different things.
I agree in principle with what you're saying. And I do agree that you cannot wait. Awuna, the Ohaneze cannot get their act together.
Yes.
Asi onye ji ego kwa nne,
Yes.
owu di ọkpara agbụrụ.
So I have an aversion to that how you use that because I had to debate this with several people at several locations.
Okay.
Ihe ha sịrị onye ji ego, ọ sịrị onye aka siri ike.
onye ọ dị n'aka.
Onye aka siri
Okay.
onye aka siri
Okay.
ike, aka ka o kwuru.
Okay.
Ego
Okay.
is something else.
Well, yes. Well, but the meaning is not lost on all of us.
Yes.
Yes.
So in that sense, I do agree. If you cannot wait for somebody who has fallen flat
Yes.
on their duties, you do the best you can.
That's right.
But I think we will all have to accept that it will be much better if there is some kind of general agreement.
Consensus.
Yes.
Anyuko mamili ọnụ.
Yeah, well,
So already, a natural movement
okay.
will be the Southeastern Governors Forum
Ah, yeah.
having
Ọkwa nke Rochas nọ na ya. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, but ọkwa ndị fa chọtara na-achịfa.
But Rochas ga-akpọgodu ọkpụchala n'ozi.
Ị na-ekwu ọ kpụchago ọ na-anazi tax.
No.
He has
You
projects.
see, for as long as we continue to excuse the ineffectiveness of the leadership of the governors in issues affecting the Southeast.
I'm not trying to excuse them.
No,
I'm
no,
trying
no,
to
no.
point out who we have.
No. You see, again, part of what the people,
Yes.
Ndi Igbo,
Yes.
should realize is that those people there are working for them.
Yes.
Okay.
And if they're working for you, sometimes you put down your feet and you demand certain actions from them.
Not sometimes, all the time.
You should all the time.
Yes.
So now,
Instead, the Rochas in an attack.
No.
You should be taxing him.
no, beyond that, look at our delegation to the National Assembly. Why can't they meet in Abuja with our brothers from Benue?
So I could Makankali, and I left that for this second segment. I would like to draw us back to Nkali for a second. So in our Kweku delegation and the National Assembly, this is the same people who are sitting there, and Buhari nominated all his brothers for all the security apparatus, and they gave him a sign off.
No,
These are the people that get up every time in the chambers and speak English with as much vocabulary as they learned from the dictionary the night before and do not propose any bill.
No. But one thing that you have to understand is that the configuration of the National Assembly, both this House and the Senate, is rigged to give,
because now they're local government.
To give
numerical superiority.
APC has numerical superiority, and they can
APC
get anything.
Means nothing to Onyibo. It shouldn't.
No. You didn't. You see, remember my point. Remember how Saraki got in as senator.
Yes.
Was that he played a MasterCard, working with so-called APC senators who were former PDP guys that he knew.
Yes.
So while the APC people were in a caucus meeting, they all ganged together
and voted him in.
Yes. So that's how he got in. Now, you dare not cross the party line because Ekebedegana must go.
Miss Yegi.
Okay.
And I will
so for a porridge of tea,
and then secondly,
I will sell my birthright.
And then secondly, if EFCC comes knocking on your door, because
I think you call the Dino Milaya number.
Okay. So your wife will be there to blame you and the entire.
No.
It's go as Dino.
Yeah. So you actually have said something that is, well, again, something we have said a long time, but I would like to put it in this context.
Yes.
Makana, if you look at a lot of the problem with some of these organizations, be it especially LNC and
Lower Niger
IPOB,
Congress, indigenous people of Biafra.
Yes. They are, I think they have basically turned their back on the Igbo political leadership of
they are frustrated
Ohaneze,
and they decided
the governor, yes,
to your home on
yes.
Israel. Yes.
And they have not, it is not without reason.
They got good cause.
But the point about it, which is something I've always wanted to ask, and I would really like somebody, either from LNC or from IPOB, to come on this station so we can really talk about this. What is your plan B?
Yes.
Okay, do your plan B. Makana, whether you like it or not, I'll give you an example. Whether you like it or not, unless something drastic happens in Nigeria, come 2019, there will be an election. And after that election, somebody will come out and tell you, I am the governor of this state. I am the senator. Whether by a selection, thievery, thuggery, whatever way you want to say it,
election,
so long as that name is written to the rest of the world, that is your elected representative.
Okay, let me put it this way.
Yes.
What they have failed to realize is what our forefathers eloquently knew and told us clearly. No onye balaka. So to me, the whole principle of Madi Baka
in the English language says that possession is 90%.
Okay. Now, first of all, you're trying to woo a whole lot of people to follow your line of action.
Yes.
Which means you're leading Ndibo to this El Dorado, or the disenfranchised people of the Lower Niger, or the entire Biafra land to this El Dorado. And you want us to follow you, but you have not disrupted the system that is in place, Yes. Because I would love to see LNC and IPOB challenge the governors. That's right. I would love to see them challenge the assemblymen at their state level, challenge the congressional leadership.
Start from your local government chairman. Is serious.
Now you are talking.
So let me see you challenge the political process within an Igbo. Then when you have already...
you could buy as much as you want.
Then as we go to the center, then you can now say, yeah, and according to my track record. But you see, at this point, you're an unknown quantity, and there is no reason other than exuberism and just some kind of mere utopia.
But there's something worse. They are not the first. We've seen people come and try to disrupt the madness before, and then you walk a mile with them, and what happens?
Yes.
They evolve again into something else.
But you see,
I for myself, Mbobia.
well, so Mazio Deluga has just hit the nail on the head.
Yes.
Because if you talk to a lot of these separatist movements, all of them talk about a referendum. What is the biggest referendum? Now we have election now.
No, in a middle, okay. That is the point.
No. What? This is the referendum.
The Ambazonian. The Ambazonians in a referendum na Cameroon, the Anglo side of Cameroon.
Yes.
This is not where we're going. While they were waiting for the referendum, it started getting too hard. How about also about Nigeria?
Yes.
What did Nigeria do? Promptly arrest them and put them back.
And repatriate.
So, in South Sudan, where the referendum worked and the people actually were let go and they went home. What happened in South Sudan, I always say, is a cautionary tale. It is what happens when you actually are going for something without a plan.
Yes.
So, obviously, we know this war. How would you win the peace? You have to say,
Yes.
Yes. But if we don't agree now, Ohaneze is against IPOB, IPOB is against Ohaneze, who's against LNC, and if we draw all these arrows pointed at each other, then we don't have to do anything for Ndinachono to get you.
Yeah, but you see, that is part of the discordance. And if we could use the Anambra election as a case study, because we have context for this. This thing, if Anambra State had an election.
Yes. Some people decided.
Nnamdi Kanu said we shouldn't vote. Eventually, I think it was ADF and a few of the elders prevailed on them to say, okay, you can now vote. Now, could you imagine if IPOB decided of all the 10 or 15 political parties and the candidates that were running
that instead of their message
in that governorship election, if they had vetted each and the guy had the ability and the influence at that time. That's right. To actually parade each and every one of them for personal interviews, and at the end of it all, say,
this is my man.
This is the man who embodies the
can
vision.
Can excuse na hindsight to 2020. Also
So the point,
his organization can
do. So IPOB, LNC, get involved in the political process.
That is your referendum.
But you see, your local government chairman,
I don't
senator,
care. Look, if
rep,
you decide you don't want
governor,
to vote, if you decide you don't want to vote for the president of Nigeria, I understand.
That's fine.
And I am not even going to quarrel with you for that.
But now you are
go and put
your neck
in,
of the woods.
Because in our look, if the governor of Abia State was a Biafran, IPOB would not have fared as poorly as they did.
Nobody will be python dancing in that.
No, he will use his power.
Yes,
no,
he is a sitting governor,
and he has a commissioner for justice, and he has an attorney general.
Absolutely. And you can internationalize this, and it is no longer a group of quote unquote miscreants. This is the governor of the state.
Who says that he doesn't want a military exercise in his neighborhood?
Meanwhile, he was busy at the Supreme Court trying to win a mandate.
So therein lies to me, the fallacy of boycotting.
Yes.
Because by boycotting, you make a political point.
Thank you. Because you see, the concept of each one will know.
Yes.
It's in the Igbo Muife.
Yes.
Makana, you know the story about Okuko.
Yes.
As no man, the animals got together to have a meeting.
Yes.
And he was busy. So he told the group, say, look, I'm not going to be at the meeting, but whatever you guys agree on,
I am
I
in support.
I am in full support.
I
In fact,
concur.
I agree.
Yes.
So, Makas no konye wa anya.
Proxy.
So when the animals got together, they now said, okay, who is it that we should be really using in case the gods need a blood or sacrifice?
Who should be the atonement?
Who should be the atonement?
Who should we use for that sacrifice?
And
So they looked around.
They
Who's
looked
not
everybody,
here?
nobody.
Who is not?
So they volunteered.
By proxy vote
The
and in
fowl.
absentia, the
He
fowl.
had already voted.
And so
Whatever
he-
you agree.
That's right. So to me, that is what is going to mean. That is what this resembles. If we do not participate in electing those who will govern within an Igbo, because while we are still pursuing the ideas of maybe true federalism, maybe regional
A
autonomy,
country of our own.
or whatever form of
That
government
sounds like a book title I will use.
what we need to be able to do is to control our space. And if you can control your space by electing people who you believe have the interest of the people at heart, or who agree with your own point of view, that is the essence of politics. That is the essence. You see, what they are asking for is everything stop and follow my idea. That's not going to happen. In a
Idea that
democratic
is not tested
and
and
that's
tried.
right. In a democratic process, you need negotiations and you need the politics.
And that is the political structure of Igbo for
That's right.
consensus.
Consensus.
You have to carry people
So,
along
no,
with you.
beyond that, I want to bring out this point. Okay, who do you a referendum? You want a referendum. You do not control any instrument of governance or any infrastructure. You want to have the referendum,
By fire, by
and
force.
so people are going to vote where? At the primary schools? Who controls the
Who's
primary
going
school?
to organize it? And who's going to? Are we going to tell the people in North and the people that actually claim to
No,
have the
even if
largest
you-
number?
Even your
that-
governor.
No, if you want to organize it in your village, the day you want to organize, say, okay, let my village find out where vote.
What
If
machines are you-
your chief
Yes.
or the Igbe Eze is in support, and your
is going to go receive his autonomous payment from, from
the
the governor.
the president general of your organization, of your community town union,
Yes,
is in
in
support.
support.
Fine.
Yes.
The day before, DSS agents will arrive in your village,
And arrest some people.
arrest them,
Maga.
and you, who is spearheading the referendum,
And the
and the
grounds
next
of
day,
treason.
no, and the next day,
Yes.
the
Upon
ballot
result.
materials will not come out. There will be no election. In fact,
Or even if they have a referendum, it is stuffed and nobody was there to watch it, and they tell you the result that it's
it has
as
not,
you were.
no. It has not legal binding. So what is my point?
Yes.
Ndị Igbo unu nekwa anya unu ewere inekọ ezu n'ọnụ ama na anava agba izu na-asị na ndị nwe ekwugwo ndị nwakwe
No, onye aka dị.
mana fa ji ebe ha fada agwa ndị befe fa atụ na election.
Yes.
That's, so Mazi Chizoro, I we see your comment. You're saying that referendum of the alien political systems and cultural/religious value systems are alien values that can only serve alien interests.
I fell a
True.
But-
We are not talking about ihe anyị na-ekwu ka azọta na ala. Ka anyị zọta ala. The only way ị ga-eji zọta ala n'ala Igbo bụ by making sure na onye ọbụla pụtara akpọ oku mmadụ welie aka elu onye nke gị. What we have now n'ala Igbo bụ na people who purport to represent ndị Igbo are in great majority mercenaries.
They are still aliens.
Warrant chiefs.
Mercenaries. So, ọwụ na onye ọbụla, and again, I am calling out IPOB and LNC
Or any other alphabet.
or
sheet out
any
there.
other person that is thinking about referendum, do this. Look, the easiest way to go about winning, unless me na doubt, na ndị Igbo agaghị ekweta ihe ikwu. If you feel strongly that ụzọ gị jiri eji,
Make your point.
why don't you bring it to the people at the ballot box? Forget federal. Let the governor, let your senators, ha wuru ndị Igbo, nwa afọ Igbo. That is where you begin. If you don't have that, how the heck are you going to begin to pursue
I want to
our
say
external
amen.
interests?
I want to say amen with just this. If you don't get that where you live is where you gain there.
No, but you see, that was actually the strategy that saw the Eastern region
Flourish.
Yes. Because we put our best foot forward with the right kind of leadership. We had a focused development plan, and we had an agenda that ignored the influence or either the consent or lack of consent of the British colonial government at that time. Yes. And of course, if you look at our friend Sadwana stayed back in Kaduna simply because he understood where the power was. And he knew that the best place to be is in his neighborhood.
He had remote control from where he was.
Now, the idea of globalization, most companies that are involved in global trade today talk about you think globally, but you act locally. You have to learn that lesson. Or if AGI would have won, we have no permanent interest. And I hope at some point, straight up, we should begin to articulate some ideas from our listeners and those who we are in touch with.
Tell us what you're thinking. Let's talk about it.
What are our interests? What do we want? That's the, you see, Ibata in any room. That's the first question. So, the actual referendum, the actual independent state of Biafra. Okay, Nkai Welewe, Kerita Chonia, Nkejika, Makane bed at hand, up like he became now one Konya Jika, now Monyeji. Not one Konya Jikoji Anaka. So, what is it that we have now? We have 5 states plus Ikwere.
Well, parts of the rivers
and the Delta. So now,
show me that you have those by actually having a conversation that involves all those with a consensus.
Which is build a regional economy, build a regional cooperative agreement, build a regional and economic plan, build something concrete through governance, create a local party or a think tank or a force. Something that will allow
that goes
consistency.
Beyond this group
political arrangement.
Yes.
So if tomorrow Nigeria splits out into regions, you'll be better. You will not be losing. If Nigeria stays the way it is,
you will not be losing.
If soldier come, soldier go.
Barracks there.
So that is the point. That until we arrive at some kind of this idea, you do not throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yes.
So the Nigeria had Roma, fine, we understand that, but dossier be.
Master Chizara says that he believes that allies for a village level referendum could be found in Black diaspora. I do think this is well within human rights and a very good concept. As good as the concept may be. Execution is everything.
No, look at Spain. Look at Spain.
The leaders.
Catalonia. Look at that is the answer. Lania. Okay, we now go back again to Nkali.
You have to tell yourself the truth and assess where you are first.
Let me point out one thing, and Mazi Okachuku has consistently made this point. The international community does not give a rat's patookies about you and your local problems.
That is
all they are interested in is interest.
Yes.
And those interests have nothing to do with human rights.
Until it aligns with yours, then you gain. If it doesn't align with yours.
So, right now, I will tell you, in Nigeria today, the current Hausa Fulani leadership are still seen by much of the international community as where their interests align. And unless you can begin to change that factor on the ground, enwe ebe eji azụ aka.
And that speaks to the role. Because I like what he said, that there's a role for the diaspora Africans. And that role is to make sure that we shift some of that narrative. Which, again, a lot of the foreign policy principles that govern relationships between Africa and the country and the rest of the world is shaped by the old colonial masters.
Absolutely.
And so when you look at West Africa, for instance, the fact that ECOWAS cannot be a big economic bloc is because you have two colonial masters
that won't allow it.
That are at war.
They have their own interest, and their interests are not aligned.
That's right.
The
So
interests are not aligned.
France and England.
Yes.
When you look at the Anglophone, Commonwealth. What if I not the Commonwealth? About the Olympics.
Not Commonwealth.
No. Commonwealth.
Commonwealth to Britain.
Wait. Because you see, even the Commonwealth, you know why?
Yes.
You know why?
Yes.
Because now that they are leaving Europe,
Brexit. Absolutely.
they are looking for a new market, and Africa. So everybody's going back
Why
to
do
their
you think
colonial
they're giving you
office.
600 million for a prison?
No.
Of all the industries they could bring to your neighborhood.
So my point is, Britain
Again,
will
everybody
over the law offer and which
it's your hand from Sinish.
So what is it that we need to do? The Africans in the European diaspora should work hard to make sure, one, you participate in the political process, you get people who
Where you live.
people who will be sensitive to understanding your story and peculiarities
Yes.
over your land
Where you
into
live.
parliament or government,
Where
both
you
in the
live.
European Union and
And
within
in the US.
the UK and every other country where you live.
Diaspora, yes.
For us in the US, North America, Canada, this is really what is our turf, is our job. We need to begin to advocate for
Sensitize
change
yes.
in the approach towards Africa. It is no longer a colonial turf. It is no longer
It's not about interest of
it's
France
no longer
or
based
UK or,
on no.
or trying to check China,
So
which I was trying to actually incite the last time, but it shouldn't be about that.
yes, no. It should be about the interests of the people, and there are interests within the Nigerian space that line up well with the West. But part of the issue is most countries, like ndị Igbo na-ekwu, no, onye stove onye bute nni osu ebe ofeka. Ebe ofeka, as far as the West is concerned, is who they can rely to deliver the bacon for them.
Yes.
And that's who's in power. Onyeji Ghana.
And
Onye
that's the
Gigi.
point.
Onye Gigi.
Oh, we're also hi
So,
Gigi.
again-
Onye bu igu ka egu na-eso.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but I want to say something about that, because when we started, we talked about when we were talking about PhD, and then we got to what should the big expanse of Ndibo do with all these quarrels amongst each other. I want to know the diaspora. We do a little bit better because now I think we got for face those problems give you a little bit of a chance to. But the one thing we keep repeating, because this insanity keeps repeating itself, if we go do those ABC parties again, where we have Ndimbise, Ndi Newi, Ndi Anambra, Ndi Imo, Ndi Ebonyi, and then not only that we did, and kudos to you for doing that and actually thinking about your former homeland, but the thing that gets me is when you start arguing and competing on nonsense
on those bases,
and
here
then
in
somebody
the
will
diaspora.
get up and make a good point, but then you think, what card is he carrying? He's from Mbise and I'm from Nnewi. Who sent you come? I will agree to it. We have to stop that. We talked about remittance the last time. The people sending the remittance are actually sending it as individuals.
Yep.
Because I know when I send it to my family people. When you send it to your family people. When Western Union and the rest of the people that we use, who actually came from that, not any of our companies, when they account for it, they say that the remittance from the US to this part of Africa, they don't say that the remittance from OK to Ndibia is this.
Yes.
Why am I saying this? If you look at the amount of money we send individually from just the US to Nigeria, or from the UK to Nigeria, or from Dubai, or from wherever you're sending it to Nigeria, that country should not be in debt. That country is the richest country in the world. If they saved those money, actually, if they saved 2% of what is being sent internationally by people in diaspora to them, nobody will be suffering in Nigeria. But do you know why it's not doing a thing? Because the individuals that get it from a single source that they know they could go back to all the time. We know trickle down don't work. With the US will tell you that. But also, the way they use it and the mentality that we saw is that actually they get smart because they will talk to you and talk to your brother and talk to your sister and talk to your uncle, and they'll get all these monies, but because they didn't work hard enough to get it, they use it as gifts. Why is this important? When we band together, whether we have all those ABC parties and have a consensus, if we start from just what I talked about remittance, and we decide that, okay, instead of you sending this $20 to your sister, why don't you take just $1 out of that and put it into this? And instead of just doing all this, we will put in an industry in the neck of the woods on Anibo, so that your sister will get 19. And everybody else that may come back later to ask your sister to ask you will actually be employed and start generating money to start sending to your kids tomorrow. That's one idea. But much more importantly is when we go to talk to these organizations and our senators and our people in power and our PMs, then we are speaking with one voice because we're speaking on something that was agreed at a consensus. Not because I make my point and Onyimbise said something like it, but he didn't say it the right way.
Let me buttress the thought you have right now. We, some of us are involved in a program with a university in the Chicagoland area. And our focus is on African and African American students in the university to make sure that they have a good experience and they are nurtured through the program. And at a meeting not so long ago, we found out that the university has earmarked a considerable amount of money for Hispanic children. And yet, this organization has been working together with the university for years. We were lucky that we had a vice chancellor or provost that was sympathetic to our cause, that helped us set up a small scholarship. And they matched our donation. But I am telling you that what the university has done for the Hispanics is more than 200% of what we have been able to do.
Because they
for
probably
these
had
kids.
a consensus.
Why? Because Hispanics have come as a block.
Yes.
They are not coming as Mexican, Puerto Rican, Guatemalan, Honduras. No, they are Hispanic.
It's the cause of Hispanics, not the cause of.
So now we are in era of politics.
Yes.
In the U.S., there's a November election coming.
Yes.
Yes.
Great opportunity to not only volunteer,
House and Senate.
volunteer in a campaign,
Yes.
give to a campaign,
Yes.
collect signatures for a candidate, get in front of that candidate with a little piece of paper saying, by the way, this is who I am.
Yes.
Here
are the interests I have.
These are my interests.
Yes.
That's all you need to do.
Yes.
If it's a community organization, because the way the politics is structured here, if those of us in Chicago can get 2 or 3 members of our congressional delegation to listen,
Yes.
that will make a whole lot of difference for even if nobody else in the Congress can speak on our behalf. But if we can do it in 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 states, then we can actually encourage the formation of a new caucus, which will look at the African Diaspora Caucus.
Yes.
Which is a new concept.
We owe it to our brothers who came early.
That's right.
And
So
we owe it to our children who are staying.
Yes, I'm calling it the African Diaspora Caucus because now it is no longer focusing on the Africans in the American diaspora, but really focusing on their homeland.
Yes.
Because if you look at some of the rhetorics coming out of the whole debate on immigration, you find out now,
chain migration versus non-chain.
The Africans are not part of that discussion.
That's right. But more than anything else, the fact now also nachu. And so it is up to us to explain why our Jina also
in the middle of the
broad
day.
daylight.
in broad daylight. So the world needs to hear what is it that is going after our.
But it goes back to what Mazioke has just said. You need to have Ndibo, Purugodo as Ndibo, not into 250 villages. Olukuda as Ndibo, Onakbono Ndi Yoruba, Mako Kaiha in population.
Yes.
Arrive at some kind of broad-based consensus, then walk across to Ghana. Because they are the next large group.
Yes.
If you have Nigerians and Ghanaians come together and speak with one voice, suddenly you begin to become...
You get West Africa, and then you move Central and East, and by the time you know, you are next to all the diasporan Africans.
Because it is when you get there. And to tell you the truth, what are you going to speak on? Every single African country wants rule of law.
Yes.
Equity. Kill corruption.
Good governance.
Good governance.
Yes.
We started the other show with
good stewardship. Good stewardship of the resources, that God gave Africa.
We talked about Solif at least trying to do that for Liberia and getting the Mo Ibrahim Prize. But so much to say. On that note, we're going to round it up. And 30 seconds. Mazio Delga.
This is the time for us to, again, organize. Maka na onye kwe, chi ekwe.
Mazio Obasi.
Ndị na-aga na-asị ndị mmadụ nọ n'ụlọ unu atụla vote. Aghọtara m ihe unu ji na-ekwu ya, mana ihe m na-ajụ unu, realistically, kee your plan B. Unu nwere, I would like us to have a serious debate on it and not shout each other down. Just really talk about what is the best way forward for Ndibo.
I think either Ika Mouse or Mali was asking blacks in England back in those days, what's your plan? But Meji Okuntabire we Mechinka, because there's actually something to talk about in that, which is na anasina na gano gigende gara. Onye nganga na ya go gagro onu. Ogo ego ya no ogo gara ya nde gara. Catch phone.
Ndewono.
You're listening to WGHC 98.3 FM.
Yo, but we are nothing friend from see the first time. After dressing stand, I'm a boy. You get anything you like, long as you are right, then me alright. Me know your man, that's why I'm alive.
Your voice, your music.
Whether me in a skirt or jeans or short shorts, head raised when me walk past. Me feel the eyes, believe the eye, me love the lights, me tweet the spy.
Say like you all I got to all baby, mana. Anywhere that you go, I could follow you to go, baby.
You're listening to WGHC 98.3 FM.
New level.